In order to make my product look as professional as possible, it was essential for me to integrate different forms of technology into my project. Through time, I spent researching documentaries in depth and aspects of ways posters and websites were built. I came to find out that if a range of hardwares, softwares, and online technologies were used, it was more likely going to successfully appeal to the target audience due to how competent the final product looks like. To make sure the right target demographic group was captured, I needed to make sure to successfully involve these elements, as without the use of technology, making any of these three projects would be merely impossible. I incorporated multiple softwares including Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, Adobe Premiere Pro CC, Adobe Photoshop CC, and FireAlpaca. I began my journey by using Microsoft Excel so that I could create my initial design for my website and poster, write my risk assessment, my contingency plan, and schedule it down neatly so I knew exactly what I needed to do and what precautions I should consider, as well as what I could do in case something unexpected happens. I then used Microsoft Word in order to easily write, edit, and also check any spelling errors on my documentary scripts and my CCR scripts so that I could easily correct it. Both of these softwares allowed for easier navigation, added visual effects, as well as playing around with the ability to easily customize the text to my liking. When previously creating my CCRs for my AS levels, I use Adobe Premiere Pro CC in order to clean cut and final cut each CCR and turn them into either a talking head, podcast, documentary cut, or a voiceover with a presentation, which I did with the help of Microsoft PowerPoint, which brought more energy and visual impact to my presentation, and it also made it easier for me to access it anywhere and edit it whenever I like. As a result, I decided to reuse these softwares for my A2 CCRs due to the previous experience I gained with these applications. According to the Blommer and Katz uses and gratification theory concerning how to gain views, in most documentaries of any genre, viewers can be attracted by the use of technology as such, so that the consumers could identify and aspire to be just like the people in them. I decided the best option would be to use Adobe Premiere Pro in order to edit my documentary due to my previous experience with this application. I used multiple features such as overlaying clips and turning the opacity down to make it look blurry in the start. I played around with the lumiere color effect so that all the sequences in the video looked parts of each other, and also played around with the adjustments such as reducing the audio gain and even playing around with some of the speed duration tool, slowing the video and speeding it up in some areas. Combining all of these elements together merges a final product filled with a near to professional standard throughout. Since BSM gave me the opportunity to have access to the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, I decided to use this to my advantage and use Photoshop CC in order to create both my poster and my website. I have previously used Photoshop CC when creating my AS magazine front cover, content page, and double-spreaded article page. When creating my poster, I used Photoshop in order to clear out Alex's face, add all the text, and merge over 18 of her drawings onto her skull to give the effect that her art is her life, as it's all that's on her mind. With the help of effects and color grading, integrating this software onto my product made it very unique and automatically stand out from any posters out there. Regarding my website, I mainly use this application in order to edit my customized merchandise. I first took one of Alex's drawings and placed them onto the application called FireAlpaca so that I could retrace the drawing and digitalize it in order to make it look more clean and accurate. FireAlpaca is a Japanese software, which is a free painting tool. I decided to use this as I had previous experience when creating an animation in one of my previous works. After coloring the images I drew, I turned my images into PNGs and used Photoshop in order to create my final merchandised hoodies. There was also a wide range of online technologies I used. This included Google, Weebly, YouTube, SoundCloud, and websites of multiple artists. I used Google as my main search engine in order to find more research about my documentary and gain access to all the other sites that I've mentioned. Along with Google, I also used YouTube to research tutorials as to how to merge all the images on my poster together. I used Weebly since I had previous experience with this website, since I've created my film and media AS blogs on this before. I created 2 sites in total. One for my A2 documentary, poster, and website research along with my productional processes, and another one being my official website featuring Alex Gilly. My official website followed the traditional codes and conventions by including pages which most artist websites have. This includes a homepage, about, artwork, blog, contact, and what I want to currently talk about, the merchandise page called Shop. On the shop page, I put all of the merchandise I created with Photoshop as mentioned before and added prices and descriptions on the items in order to make my website look as realistic as possible. I also used other online technologies like Google and YouTube as methods of conducting various of research. YouTube was a great visual way of learning how to edit pictures together on Photoshop and improve my overall editing skills. Besides research, I also used YouTube in order to upload not only my documentary, but also put up my CCR questions so that I could put links available on my website. On the other hand, I used Google to conduct the rest of my research, such as codes and conventions on my product, theories, and even ideas of how I would like my product to look by looking at different documentaries, different posters, and visiting a bunch of artist websites. I also used the search engine in order to get images for my website so it could look more aesthetically pleasing. The last online technology I used would be SoundCloud. I used this in order to present one of my CCRs, as this website is good for audio pieces of work. This made it easier for me to upload it onto my Weebly after I edited it. The last technology integrated in my project would be the range of hardwares I used, which was a computer, laptop, 3 SD cards, 2 cameras, an iPhone 11, multiple studio equipment, and a hard drive. I would use the school computers during school time and the school laptops at home, as these hardwares had direct access to the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. Personally, I preferred to work at school because the monitors were really wide, making it easier for me to do my research using 2 tabs on one screen, or just even the overall editing process, which could be seen at a higher resolution and greater depth. Sometimes the school hours were not enough for me to complete my work, which is why I would use the school laptops at home and continue the process in order to maximize my use of time. When creating my project, I used multiple equipment. 3 LED lights so that I could use them as my backlight, fill light, and spotlight on my object. I also used 2 cameras in total, the Canon XA25 and 35. This was specifically used for the interview, but when I had to record other clips to add onto my documentary, I just used the XA35 as I enjoyed working with it. But with 2 cameras, I used 2 out of the 3 32 GB SD cards to store all of this footage, while the last SD card was kept for any footage I recorded on my microphone. In order to keep my filming steady, I also used a hand gimbal so I could use movement in my work, but also used 5 tripods for the light, camera, and microphone. I also used my iPhone 11 in order to take photos for my poster, as its resolution is 1792 x 828 pixels, which is very positive. The hardware that was one of the most important parts, however, would be my hard drive. I used this in order to gather all the images, footage, and sound for my 3 projects, as well as my CCRs, as this was a safe place to store my work without worrying about any saving complications.